So this is a question that you have to get the first 8 digit of the number in order to use the Wi-Fi. It was pretty funny when they first posted and it was become viral. So those are one of the things that I thought was very, very interesting. I now this question will never be on a test, and then I'm gonna tell you there was advantage using geometric to solve a integral problem, but the advantage is so small that I would say it's like almost not worth to use geometric to solve a problem, but it can solve a particular type of problem. Okay, so and that's something I will say. So question like this. Whoa, that was a big graphing.
Go to the wave. That's
Can we
going
go
on.
over to the side?
What?
Someone's having a club party over there.
Yeah, she's so annoying. How about I fight with her?
You should come. Two of us over there to go deal with this.
We'll be back.
He won't come back though. um, so this questions here is very interesting. So let's talk about advantage, right? So geometric can solve the two type of problem. One is the circle, which is square root r squared minus x squared. And second type of problem is absolute value problem. So absolute value like 2x minus 1, like integral this between, like say, -2 to 5, something like that. Or this is from 0 to r dx. So this is a two type of problem. It can more easily to solve. So that's only type of problem that is going to help you geometrically. So rest of the problem, which is we're going to go through, is arithmetic. Which is solve 98% of the problem. And you're going to be like, why do we spend a lot of time yesterday? Because this offers you fundamentally understanding. This is what we're going to do today. But before we do that today, we're going to show you one more thing about geometric. And this was a question that can be done. So let's talk about what Nathan was asking earlier. What is a negative integral? What does that look like? And we're going to explain that in a second. Why does that look like that way? So if you have some type of graph, right? If you pay attention, all the graph yesterday is above x-axis. Now, if I have something like this, it's below x-axis, let's say between 0 to 2 of this function, f of x. This is below, so integration between 0 to 2 of f of x is equal to negative because below x-axis. Does that make sense now? So that's what a graph will look like if you have negative value. But it has to be in current orientation. It has to be from low bound to high bound. Because if I switch the boundary, it becomes positive. So it has to be in the same orientation from low to high, and the graph is below x-axis, and that's what you get negative on the indefinite integral. Am I going too fast? So that's a first understanding. Second understanding is another property for integral is this. Between negative a to a of dx if f of x is odd. Okay. Now here's my question. F of x is an odd function, and they are integrate between negative a to positive a. What do you think is end up equal to?
0.
Why do you think it's 0?
Because the area above the curve under is same.
You are absolutely right. So imagine that I have this graph of xq graph. We don't even think about xq graph, just think about y equal to x graph. So y equal to x graph. So it's going to be like something like this, right? And let's just say between A, we're gonna say this is A, and this is gonna be a positive region, right? And we're gonna say this is B. This is a negative region. So that's negative A, sorry. So the blue region and the red region will cancel out each other because integral between 0 to A is positive. And the integral between negative B to 0 is going to be negative. They are kind of going to offset each other. Does that make sense? Am I going too fast?
Like that cancels it out?
Yes. Because integral between negative A to 0 is going to be negative value. But since they are symmetrical, because they are function, they are symmetrical, so they will cancel out. That's very, very important understanding. Understand or no? Okay. Second thing, if it's between 0 to A of f of x, and f of x is even functions, we're going to say if f of x is even. What happens if it's even? Well, integration between 0 to A of f of x dx is equal to, well, hold on a second. Negative A to A. My bad. This one's negative A. Is equal to 0 to A of f of x dx. And it's going to be a 2 times 2. Does that make sense visually?
Because you're gonna do.
Because just think about you have x squared graph, right? Or absolute value x graph. Think about absolute value x graph. If I have from A to A, negative A to A, and if I have absolute value graph, right? So the integration between negative A to A is equal to 2 times from 0 to A, because double. Because they are symmetrical, they will have a double. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, raise your hand. Let me know where it doesn't make sense. Natalie, you okay?
They both make sense. I think I missed the first part. You're talking about arithmetic, and then you said you put like a 1 and you said percentage.
Oh,
I'm confused. What
the
is
98% of the problem can be solved arithmetically. So most of the time that you're gonna do in terms of calculus is gonna do arithmetically. Now I emphasize on geometric is because it can solve a lot of problem that normally arithmetic cannot solve, which is circle and absolute value.
Wait, can you scroll down again? I'm sorry. And then is that A or C on the upper bound of that one?
That's A.
Okay. Yeah.
And what were you talking about when you drew like when you said high bound, low bound, like up there?
Yeah, so this part has to be from low value to high value, from 0 to 2.
In order to go to negative?
Yeah, in order to be negative, if they are below x-axis.
Okay.
Now, if it's high to low, they will be negative, hence negative becomes positive. So because you had to change the boundary, you had to change the negative sign in the front.
So is the low bound like 0 in this, like on the sketch, in this case 0 is A and 2 is B.
Mhm.
Does the low bound, does A have to be negative, or does it just have to be smaller than B?
Just had to be smaller.
Just has to be smaller than B, but it can still be on the positive.
So it could be 1 to 2. Yeah. Okay, so that understanding. So now we're gonna go ahead and look at this problem. We're gonna crop, and we're gonna paste it. Sorry. We're gonna copy, and we're gonna paste it here. Okay, so, and this question will not be on the test, but I'm gonna show you. It's very interesting. Pay attention to the boundary. It's 2 to negative 2. So integration between negative 2 to 2. Again, this is not on the test. You don't have to copy down. I'll just show you how interesting this question is. Times square root 4 minus x squared dx. Obviously, this is impossible to solve if I want to do an arithmetic So I'm going to distribute this. I'm going to start by one step at a time. So -2 to 2 of x cubed cosine of x over 2 square root of 4 minus x squared plus 1/2 square root of 4 minus x squared dx. Now, let's just review some algebra, geometry skill, not pre-calc skill. How do I tell if the function even or odd? Do you guys remember how do you tell when an in function is even or odd?
Don't you like put in like a negative x?
You're right, plug in negative x. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna see what is this function even or odd. So imagine that's g of x is equal to x cubed cosine of x over 2 square root of 4 minus x squared. I'm gonna plug in negative x in there, see if we go back to the negative. So if f of negative x equal to negative f of x, that's gonna be odd. If f negative x equal to positive f of x, that's even. So we try it out. Negative x to the cube cosine of negative x over 2 square root 4 minus negative x to the square. This one will end up being negative x to the cube. Now, cosine is an even function. Those of you guys know, cosine is a graph look like this. Cosine the graph is going to look like this. On the left side and right side is even. So if it's even, then it's going to be even. And this is going to be the same thing. So if you realize this is actually odd, the nice thing about this is this integral from -2 to 2 of x cubed cosine of x over 2 square root of 4 minus x squared plus integral between -2 to 2 of 1/2 square root of 4 minus x squared dx. This becomes what? 0. And then plus 1/2 integration from -2 to 2 square root of 4 minus x squared dx. Which is something we know. That's equal to 2 pi times half. That's equal to pi. So the answer is equal to 3.14. That was the password.
Hey. That was really easy.
Yeah, I could totally do that like right now.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Geometrically has some fundamentally difference. The problem usually are way harder, but it's also way easier at the same time. Arithmetic, we're gonna show you to solve this problem. Arithmetic is not possible. Yes.
I think I was writing it down, so I missed what you said. After you found out that it was an odd function, how did it become 0? Like, what did you say that?
So integration of odd function is gonna be look like this.
Oh, okay.
And then they will cancel out each other. And I'll show you the graph. This is what a graph looked like. It was x cubed and then cosine of x over 2. What is it? X cubed. And then cosine of x over 2.
You gotta put a parentheses.
And then square root of 4 minus x squared, right? It looks like this.
You forgot +1/2.
Huh?
+1/2.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's gonna look like this. It doesn't look like this, you know. So that part of the function is gonna give you a 0. So that's what it nice is. This part is gonna go to 0, and you say, oh yeah, that was the password, was 3.14. Now this will not be on the test. Don't worry. If it's on the test, then as you know. So arithmetic. So integration between a to b of a non-capital f of x, and this is called fundamental theorem of calculus 1. So you integrate small f of x, it's going to have this notation between a to b. Why? That means I take an integral. It's going to become capital F. And what does straight line mean? The straight line means what you're going to do next step is to plug in the b minus f of a. And this is a fundamental theorem of calculus. Okay, so if integrate is basically two things subtract each other. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's just say integrate x squared over okay, minus 5x dx, and that's between the -1 to 4, something like that. What's the integrate of x squared? X cubed over 3. Good. Minus, what's the integration of 5x? Over what? 2. And between what? -1 to 4. Do you see what I did? I just integrate, draw a straight line between -1 to 4, and that was my boundaries. What do you do afterwards? I plug in. So be 4 to the third over 3 minus 5 to the 4 square over 2. Am I going too fast? Plug in -1, so be -1 to the third over 3 minus 5 times -1 square over 2. Check my math. If I did something wrong, let me know. This one has become 64 over 3 minus, what is it? 4 squared is 16. 16 times 5 is 80. 80 over 2 is 40. Double check my math. 64 over 3, what?
Is it like, can you simplify or no?
No, because it's not 63 over 3. 64 cannot be divisible by 3. How about -1 here? So it'll be -1 over 3, right? Plus 5 over 2. What'd you say?
Isn't it minus 5 over 3? No, yeah, it is not 5 over 2.
It's minus 5 over 2, yeah. So that's why I said you had to double check my math. I can, so instead of 80, I can do something else, but anyway. What we do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna subtract, we're gonna add each other. So it's gonna be 65 over 3 because they have same denominator. Does that make sense? Because they have same denominator, and minus 40 plus 5 over 2. So that's 65 over 3 minus, well, this is 80 over 2. So minus 75 over 2, would you say? And you multiply, you combine the fractions. So that is equal to 6. And 125 minus, no, 130, right? So 130. And this is 6, this is a 210, so 225. So that's equal to negative, no, -5 over 6, right? Am I okay?
No, it shouldn't be 255. And then 85 on top.
225.
Oh wait, no, never mind.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Okay, no, that's okay. So let's check if we did it right. I don't know what we did right. So we're gonna say it's integration between. You just type in int. So today's question you can always check between -1 to where
-1 to 4.
4, and what's the function?
X squared minus 5x.
And the dx
What did you type in to get that?
int. What was the final answer?
-95 divided by 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just have to be careful. The one nice thing is I like the same denominator things. I can combine those instead of just distribute everything. I like to have a same denominator, take it, adding and subtracting each other. That was my goal. Okay. So you're gonna try one between 2 to 4. Between x squared plus 3 dx. So you're gonna try one and see if you come out the same answer. This one's a positive, so because how I know it's positive, x squared plus 3 is above x-axis. The other one is, I give you kind of tricky. Today's homework, you're gonna have to decide when to use geometric, when to use arithmetic. I would say anything with square root of r squared minus x squared. What you guys get?
I'm almost there.
You can check out decimal, see if you did it right. Mia, what'd you get? Huh? I don't know.
18. You don't like 3.
That's what I got.
I'm checking it now.
Wait, what'd you get?
74/3.
So remember, 98% of problem can be done arithmetically. So this one's x cubed over 3 plus 3x between 4 and 2. This is a 4 to the 3 over 3 plus 4 to the 3 is 4 times 3 is 12 minus this one is going to be 2 to the 3rd over 3 plus what? 6. So I would just do this 2 first because they subtract each other. So it'd be 64 minus 8. What is 64 minus 8? 56 over 3 plus 6. So then you combine this. So that's equal to 18. 74 over 3